introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. Yes, my name is Jana, and I'm will work on the BITS project. And so, yes, we are searching for a Hiwi, and yes, I can tell something about the project. So, the project is about bikes and the data which are used and from also the bikes and yes, we would like to create a web portal. It also has been created, and it's some years also is the project started, so it's more or less the last part of the project now, and it's a European project. And yes, what we are doing now is we like to implement an open data portal at the university here, and we use yes, web programming languages like JavaScript, Python, and the Python library Flask. And yes, it is possible to write master thesis for on this project. And yes, you can see the web portal which should be extended within this work, and the bicycle data website here. And yes, if you like to work on that, you could write a short text and what are your programming skills. And yes, here's the address you can see. And but there will also be a more extended um, description of that uploaded in yes today, I think, so you can read more about it. And that was all I'd like to say. You can yeah, write an email, and that yeah would be
Thank you a
great.
lot. Thank you a lot for your presentation. I'll just post a link for the rest of the students so you have it. And I think it's really a nice project. I don't know since when it's running. I think for 1.5 year, maybe
Hmm.
more. Yeah, so there are already something done, but it's really quite interesting. Uh, if you are also interested in data analysis, they have data, and they're like
Yes, a
approaching
lot.
those approaching those problems of integration. It's to some extent a topic of the course that we are here, that we are like teaching you. And I think on the one of the slides we'll um, also speak once about the EcoSense project. It's a bit other project, but rather than it influence also to some extent the BITS project at one point. Yeah, thank you, Jana.
Yeah,
And yeah, I posted the slide. You have the website. You know the contact person. Yeah, if you have questions, just they can ask me. I think. Yeah, I'll just forward the questions to you.
yeah, great. Thank
Yeah,
you. Bye.
thank you a lot. Yeah. So I think you still can hear me. Now let's move back to our slides. I mean, to our lecture for today, or to our today's lecture. We have uh, a lot to cover. And yeah, let's simply start. If you don't have any organization questions or so, I will just go on. If I am too fast, if you don't understand something, just write it in the chat. I can see it. Or just like unmute yourself and say. So we are not recording the lecture, so because we would like to have an interaction with you, that's why. Your comments are welcome. Yeah, uh, I'll go on now with the lecture, and I think next week I will ask you whether when or just a second. Let me do it maybe now. Okay, the question is that you have to like answer me next week. Which week suits you the best for the finals? So we have the first week after I think it's the second week of February or the third week of February. So think about it till next time and just write me next week what will be your choice for the finals. We want to set it up now because we need to book the room and everything. We told you last week that is going to be offline exam. Just think about it. So if you have there are already some appointments, so it could be a like no go for you, just let us know. If you don't respond to my request next week, I mean not till next week, but next week on the lecture, so we'll just select one week, a particular week for you and block it. So I'll go on. The title of today's lecture is Introduction and Motivation. So we're going to basically speak about what is business intelligence. We're also going to speak about the challenges of current IT landscapes and like get a really short overview of the business intelligence um, as is. So first of all, what is business intelligence? By the way, I already uploaded those slides. In generally, we are uploading the slides on the same day as on the lecture because we're like changing something, reorganizing something, and updating something. That's why it's for us it's more suitable to upload them on the same day. Yeah. First of all, the intelligence. So it could have a different meaning. So for instance, one of the meaning is the ability to apply knowledge or the capacity for learning, reasoning, and understanding, or the ability to acquire, understand, and use knowledge. So this is like the set of words that are used to describe intelligence. They may sound really obvious, but I would like to stress it again. It's not only about gathering something and understanding, it's also about the actions. So it's also about the ability to apply what you have. So this is quite crucial for the later definition of the business intelligence. So what is intelligence in business? Yeah, and the question is, for instance, that one may ask is, what is the current status of the business? So what we are doing currently. So it could be any business. So this lectures, when I say business, so I mean a particular company actually that runs some business processes, sells, buys, produce something. In this case, it doesn't matter. In some particular cases, for sure, it matters a lot. But in this context, it's like an abstract company that you can imagine. So, and for almost each company, it's interesting to know the answers to the following questions, such as what is going good, what's going bad, what should we improve on, what can we improve. So this is like easy questions to put into easy questions to ask, but they could be really hard to tackle, really hard to answer. Why? I'll try to, till the end of this lecture, I'll try to convince you to answer those questions. You need to be really careful on many stages. So the other questions that the business could ask is what are the business strengths and weaknesses, how to sustain current business model or migrate towards new one. So this is the third one, is maybe really a tough one and hard one. It's how to change the model. So if I'm not wrong, Netflix used to be not a streaming platform. So like an example of changing the business model. Or I don't know, the companies who never used to be in the cloud, nowadays are in the cloud, or like Microsoft. So it's like we have two aspects, and whether change the business model completely or like extend your business model, business facilities that you have. There are also some questions like sorry, are there opportunities for innovation or competitive advantages? How do we improve our decision-making process? The last one is really important because this is like sort of the core question for business intelligence. How to improve the decision-making process. So there are many ways to do that, but we'll stick for a moment with a single one, like a data-driven decision improvement of the decision-making process through a data-driven approach. This like keep it in mind for a second, or yeah. Then like sometimes people asking, okay, it's nice questions, but show me the money. Yeah, this is like how the market looked like a couple of years ago. I don't think that it's changed much. So it's like drifting towards cloud nowadays a lot, but still it's a lot of money on the market there, which is I promised you a motivation for today. And this could be a good motivation or a good motivation factor to study, to learn business intelligence, to become a professional in this domain. So because the mark showing since the appearance of the domain, the mark is growing, continues continue to grow due to technologies, due to new challenges. So and like it's still to some extent a company or vendor driven domain, uh, despite an open source. It's vendor driven. I think it's due to the risk management. So like you don't want to use a solution, a business solution, BI solution that does not fit your goals, and when you don't have any kind of support, and then you are on your own. This is one of the factors. The other factors is like you can sort of let the others work on your challenges and like focus on your core business and let the others do their job. Just to drop some numbers, I think if you look the Wikipedia from SAP, it's one of the biggest vendors of business intelligence, data analytics, and everything that is around it. And one of the biggest players is for sure SAP. Of course, there are others like IBM, Oracle, Tableau, SAS, Microsoft, Teradata. So you can see them all. But I want to particularly focus here on the SAP. Like to put a number in around, they spent I think the last 30 years almost more than 40 billions again of US dollars on buying companies that are dealing with business intelligence, data analysis, and similar topics. Okay, I think that's enough about the money. Let's move to the objective of business intelligence. The objective is quite simple. I mentioned it to you already. It's to support decision-making process. So by putting in the room the term decision support system. It's a bit outdated, but despite being an outdated term, it still describes the goal really good. So you have some abstract company, there are some decision makers on different level. It could be a top management, or could be an employee. If you are able to support the decisions on all levels, the idea is that you will improve the execution of the company. Execution means you will help the company to execute better. Do we have questions till now? I think it's quite clear, and I hope you still can hear me. Can you hear me? Perfect, thanks. So I will go on then. You have the slide of support intelligence. On the left slide, you have a bit outdated view on the dashboard. What is dashboard? What is reports? What those charts are all about? We'll cover in later lectures. But before, this is like sort of way to communicate to your stakeholders, the way to communicate the with ones whom you support with your decision, whom you support during their decisions. On the right side, you have sort of a big picture. So you have I hope you can see you have in the middle reporting. So it's basically some sales, a classical example. Then you have sales on the epsilon axis. On the x-axis, you have time, and then you drill down. So you will look closer to something here. So and drill down or looking closer called OLAP. What is OLAP? We'll cover later, but basically it's analytical part. It's how the analysis is called, OLAP. Then after you analyze something, you maybe want to predict some stuff. Let's say it could be a churn rate, and it could be a possible new clients or whatever. And then you will deploy it, for instance, to the system that manages the clients, and then they could use the information to, for instance, to have to call the clients and say, hey, we can offer you this, and that. So by this, you close the loop, and you support the decision whom to call when you would like, for instance, the company to enhance your client portfolio or something. I hope it's clear. So you start with reporting and end up with some deployment or interaction with some other system. So, but this is again really big picture. Till the reporting, you still have a lot of steps to perform. This is to some extent what will be covered in this course. So, a brief history of information systems. So, we need a source of data. Source of data could be an information system. It could be any kind of information system. In this case, it doesn't matter, although there are typical ones that you would like to interact with from the BI system or from the BI business intelligence system to get the data for the decision support. So you have ERP systems, you have customer relationship management systems, you have supply chain management system, and at the end you have business intelligence tools and solutions. For instance, if you look on the right side, you may seen something like this many times. So this is a classical example of dashboard. So this is like what I already told you before, a way to present your results out of the system, out of the BI system to the end users. I think the example that I may give you. Each of us definitely at least once check the status of the states of during the pandemic. So this is like an dashboard that they offered when you could hover over the map of the Germany. You could select a particular state or region to find out the number of incidents, and this is number of incidents, particular region, and so on and so forth. This is there. This is called KPIs, key performance indicators, or measurements, metrics to be communicated to a stakeholder later on. But this is also a part of the discussion later, not today, but further lectures. Now, when we are like done with the context, what we're approaching, and when you already saw and sort of end result, you can like imagine, okay, dashboard, BI, nice, I can see the KPIs. Let's get back to the basics and see what we have there on the really basic level. On the really basic level, we have before the decision, we have something called data, information, and knowledge. This is like the core stones of everything that is done there. So you have to grasp that semantic difference between data, information, and knowledge. It's really quite crucial. So let me start with the data. So it states here that any piece of raw data that may or may not be correct. So basically anything that you could record, write down, measure, it's a data. So for instance, example here, the don't be surprised. A lot of examples are going to be from sales. So because it's the easiest thing to imagine, but you can apply those principles almost to anything. Of course, not always, but generally speaking, you could apply it to anything. Example of the data: sales order at a restaurant include something. Yeah, so sales order with some data inside it. Yeah, no context, nothing, no knowledge about the restaurant, just simply some entries. Then you have an information. What is information? A subset of data when it's cleaned, aggregated, or generalized. So it means data is getting, in this case, making a step further, will be aggregated, pre-processed or post-processed, and by doing this step, by performing this step, one will get a sense of the context. Yeah, this is really relevant because data without processing is not an information, because data miss a context. Context is really important. So like if you see some numbers and you don't know whether the numbers are from order or from recipe or from whatever bill, you have no clue what those numbers mean. That's why the information in this case really important. So the number is indicating the daily sales, for instance, in some value and for some items. Then you have a knowledge that is basically on top of the information. So it's basically justified beliefs about relationship among concepts, which is driven by information. Sounds a bit fancy, but let's look at an example. The relationship between the quantity of bread that should be ordered, the quantity of bread in inventory, and the daily sales of burgers and other products that use bread. Basically, we are making one step further and try to interpret the information and try to use it. So like on Sundays, we are selling a bit more afternoon, so maybe you would like to order something, our bread, one day before or on the same day, but more, and so on and so forth. I hope it's clear, and I hope you have already heard this in other lectures, but still I want to again um, repeat it. So this is again the same, but you have at the end something called decision. So decisions means so your goal that you're trying to approach. So you like the first data, the connection or the migration. Yeah, the migration or no, stepping from data to information, from information to knowledge. You always should have in mind a goal why you're doing it. So it's to support decisions. And decisions in this case means uh, valuable actions that you would like to perform. Okay, do we have questions till now? Okay, if you don't have, okay, just a second, I will go on. Again, let's look at from another perspective on the big picture of business intelligence. On the left side, you have, if you look at the bottom, you have OLTP systems or online transaction processing systems or system. On the right side, you have OLAP, online analytical processing systems. So what's going on here? On the left side, the data is created. So there are some people or other type of actors. So some systems are creating the data. Classical example, you withdraw the money, you pay some bills, and so on and so forth. So you are creating information. So usually those data or this kind of information is created inside a transactional system. And later on, this information will be somehow moved or transferred into analytical system and will be processed there. And this analytical system consists out of subsystems. Yeah, the first of all, the ingestion system called ETL or ELT. It's not listed here, but later on the slides. Extract transform load or extract load transform. Then you have a, how it's called, not a core stone, but rather than the heart of the system, data warehouse, it's called. And then on the top of data warehouse, you are building actually your dashboards, your reports, and whatever you like to have later on to communicate to your stakeholders. So now you see that we add something additionally to it, to our understanding of the big picture. So you have not only an ephemeral OLAP system, this ephemeral OLAP system now consists for us out of other subsystems. And goal of this course will be to look into them and to like open those subsystems and look inside in order to understand why they are built like this and why we need those systems at all. Why we need to differentiate between OLTP and OLAP, for instance. Maybe some of you know it, maybe you don't know it, but we'll have a lecture on that and I will explain. Basically, the answer is one system is designed to be the system that writes data really fast, the other is designed to read the data very fast. And due to some technical challenges, sometimes or most of the time, it's impossible to combine them. So now I like the slide. It's a bit outdated, but it's not the slide. The information is not outdated that much because it helps me to reflect the current situation and to make a point that there are classical challenges of BI that are still there. I'll go through the list and say whether it holds or it doesn't hold. Yeah. First, it used to be a trend that the trend number one made an individualized fit of standardized common BI tools. It still holds. So it's not more a trend, it's more now a must for a BI tool. A multiple BI strategy will stay for a foreseeable future is true. It's still true and will be true. Why? Because now you have not a new player, but a valuable player on the market. It's the player called open source. And maybe it could be for some companies a good idea, firstly, to start with the open source, to create a small department, small group of people, small team that deals with the BI using open source tool before they will give a lot of money for a real BI solution. As I told you previously, as you may saw on the previous slides, it could be a really budget challenging to deploy or to buy a BI tool and to deploy it as well. So because it's not like next, it's all and you are done. No, it's not like this. Why? I hope you will learn it during this course. Why it's not like this. Ready on the third one, ready or not, information workers will demand more control over BI. Yeah, this is true. This is still holds. It's got a name. The name is self-service BI, and it's still a huge challenge. Why it's still a huge challenge? Not only due to technical issues, but also due to the human factor. Imagine the situation. Again, I will get back to the dashboard with the describing pandemic, where all of us, we know those KPIs that are listed there because they were explained to us in the radio and newspapers everywhere. We know the meaning of those KPIs. And when we can see the red, the green, or whatever, we can interpret it really clearly. But imagine a situation when employee use some KPI that he or she does not understand. So it could be really challenging to explain maybe this KPI, or generally they will simply ignore those KPIs. This is challenges of the self-service BI to some extent that could be addressed technically, but still I'll stay there maybe forever. Then the third one, BI tool that supports the right amount of managed end-user self-service will become popular. I already mentioned to you, mobility is no longer nice to have. This is a must, yeah. So you have the BI solution have to offer a mobile version or mobile interface. Cloud BI will slowly and steadily take over an on-premise implementation. This is true, and this is growing, and a lot of efforts are put into Cloud BI, especially from SAP, because they have their own cloud. And to mention you an example, why it could be interesting, I mentioned you the high costs for the licenses for the consultancy for BI. Using Cloud BI, you could potentially reduce those costs. I'm saying potentially because it depends on the skills you got in the company and time and the budget. But still, um, it's interesting because you can save a lot of money as the company. Then you have a BI-specific database management system will gain popularity. It's not real. They gain popularity. One of them is in memory databases that are empowering BI solutions. And there's examples, SAP HANA or Exasol. Recent example of the in-memory database Exasol. I got a question whether I knew the company because business came to consultancy and asked, hey, we want to have Exasol for our BI solution. And they had to contact the people and try to organize the session with them and so on and so forth. So it's even it's not by technical people. The special database management system are gaining popularity, but also by the stakeholders or by the deciders who are selecting those solutions. Big data will move out of silos into enterprise IT. It's happened already. You have to deal with the challenges of big data. Exploration will become the new bread and butter of BI suites. So it's again self-service BI. I already mentioned it to you. It's there. BI will integrate with the information workplace. It's also happened. So I hope it happened for some companies. Otherwise, it could be still a challenging to integrate it into the normal information workspace. But still, when you have everything on the web, so you can use single sign-on to authenticate the users and create a special information workplace for them to work on. I think you will see during the exercises. So I hope at least you understood those trends, and I tried to mention you some use cases that are relevant. Some of them are more obvious than others. Some of them are maybe a bit complicated for the moment, but still we'll work on them during the next weeks, so you will understand them better. They're also important for the company to understand what are potentials of a business intelligence for a particular company. So first of all, it will help to deal with the growing amount of data. And there is also, and the challenge is, or the potential is also not to deal with the huge amounts of data, but also to deal with the different data. Unfortunately, in this course, we will deal, hopefully, only with structured data, but it's also possible to deal with the unstructured data or semi-structured data. You remember the back loop that we saw previously, or the completed loop when you had an analysis, then all-up system, then some prediction, then a deployment to the CRM system. Just imagine the situation when your BI solution or some facility monitors, for instance, the Twitter stream and try to create an actions when something bad or something good happens. So this is not an wish anymore, it's a must. So for the company to be well represented on social media, such solutions, BI solutions, should offer this integration. I mean the analytical facilities of the tools. Then there are also recent updates on those trends from Gartner. I selected explicitly this one because not much changed. Yeah, even there's even augmented data management. It's now, yeah, augmented analytics is also there. Continuous intelligence, explainable AI, blockchain, natural language processing, graph analysis. So basically, if we'll sum it up in a couple of topics, it will be following topics. We have blockchain. I think it's due to the trends. Uh, to be honest, I did not yet saw a successful case of integration of blockchain in BI. I don't know. I don't. I don't have enough fantasy in my head to imagine this integration. But the rest is really useful. For instance, integration of artificial intelligence. So it's used to exist. It was part of the BI, but now it's gaining more popularity. Why? Because of liberalization of artificial intelligence. So it means you have more tools, more data to cope with little resources with the challenges of artificial intelligence. So that's why it's maybe a right point to think about integrating it into your already existing BI solution. Then you have like other fancy words like augmented analytics. It's basically next step of self-service BI with the elements of artificial intelligence. So like a normal usual employee, a regular employee is able to use benefits of artificial intelligence for his daily job without knowing that much about the machine learning, deep learning, and everything behind it. Yeah, generally summing it up, it drifts a little bit towards the direction of artificial intelligence, but there are still trends that exist here. If you'll go through them, you'll find most of the trends. This is from the last year, but still you can find a lot of intersections from this questionnaire. You can find intersection of this questionnaire with the one that was done like 9 years ago. Now, first of all, there is a management of data quality, data discovery and visualization, then establishing a data-driven culture, data governance, self-service BI, data preparation by business users, data warehouse modernization, agile BI, real-time analytics. So there are some challenges that existed back then. So like quality of the data, discovery of the data, visualization. And there are new challenges like creating a data-driven culture. What does data-driven culture means in this case? It's interesting. If you think about yourself, how you make a decision. So sometimes you'll gather some facts and maybe you'll analyze them, go through them and make a decision. Sometimes you have a lot of experience and you don't even need to think about it to make a right decision. Example, you need to drive somewhere, for instance, from your home to the university, usually use a bike, and without even thinking, you will exactly know how much time you will need to go to the university by the bike, for instance. Why? Because you're doing it daily, or nowadays maybe going to the university is a wrong example, but we are in the master course, so you used to go to the university back then, I hope. So this means an intuition-based decision. So you already know when you have to, you have a goal when you have to come to the university, and you already know how much time you'll spend on the road. So it's like, and you already know some, I don't know, some issues, challenges, obstacles that you have to overcome before you go there. And this is like intuition based. So if someone will ask you why, you won't say, okay, I need to pass through to traffic lights, I need to stop there, I need to stop there, and so on and so forth. So this is like sort of intuition based. And this is quite a simple decision or quite a simple process, but when you have a complicated processes and you have only a couple of employees who have a lot of experience and they can immediately say whether it's right or wrong or on what to do, this is sort of not a data-driven culture because it's more or less based on the experience of the particular employees and of a and like and the challenge is to change it. This is also to some extent a task of a BI. I hope you could follow me, all of. Yeah, do you have questions till now? Are you still able to hear me? Nice. You're still able to hear me, then maybe we will do the following. You don't have questions, but I have some. Oh. We'll go through the materials and try to answer the questions. Just a moment. Now, I hope you now can vote for the answer. So the question is, what is not API trend nowadays? You have a couple of seconds, and then I will publish the results. Yeah, I spoke about the mobility, I think, so it's true. So I also spoke about the database management systems that they are needed. So I also spoke a little bit about big data. So that is also used. It's also a must. And I also spoke about the exploration a lot. Exploration, this context means all the stuff that I mentioned, such as self-service BI, augmented analytics, and so on and so forth. So I'll just publish the result and go to the next question. This should be a bit easier. So yeah, the results. The answer is BI-specific database management systems are not needed anymore. It's still a trend, and they're needed. Why? Because I mentioned you the challenge between the core idea of splitting transaction analytical systems, and due to this problem, BI-specific database management systems are still required. Yeah. Now I'll try to move to the next question that will be a bit easier. Yeah. What could be the answer to the following question? Sales order at restaurant include a large burger, medium fries, and milkshake. What is this? Data, information, knowledge, or action? Must be obvious. To distinguish between data and information, think about context. I'll give you a couple of seconds more. Okay, I will publish results. Unfortunately, the majority voted for the wrong answer. It's according to our definition, it's not an information, it's data. Qualification criteria here could be that you don't have in context which restaurant, how many burgers, how much fries, and so on and so forth. You don't know. So you don't have really a context here. It's not aggregated. That's why it's a pure data. The next should be easier. Number indicating the daily sales. So you have a day, you have some sales during the day, and you have like some aggregated something about the day. If you need more time, just write me in the chat. So I will give you a bit more time to think about it. Yeah, I'll publish the results. Yeah, finally, you showed me that some of you listened to my monologue for the last hour. Yeah, it's information. So why it's information? Because now you have more or less a context, like amount of something. So it's an aggregated view on the data. So the next will be the easiest one. Despite formulation, what could be the answer to the following? A couple of seconds again, and then I will publish the results. But you know the answer. I hope the one who clicked D, I don't have all the results, so it's like just select a wrong option, the answer is C. Despite the definition that you see here, the sentence, it's a bit complicated. It is about the relationship between some aggregated amounts. So there is no action behind it. So it's like, this is what we know. So there are some aggregated information, and we brought those information into, like, we interconnected those things, but it does not require us to make an action. So it's not like, hey, on Sunday we have more bread, we require more bread, we need to offer more because we are lack of it. So this is like an inquiry for an action, or like, so this is not here, that's why it's not action. And we already had an example for data information, so we exclude them, that's why it's knowledge. I think I have the last one that have to be easy also. Just like, you can vote now. What will be the correct order of raw data transformation? So a couple of seconds and I will publish the results. I hope you see the results when I'm publishing them, because I see them. Now, perfect match. You knew the answer, which is nice. It means you heard what I'm speaking, or you found the slides, but you were like really quick enough in order to in guessing or in answering it correctly. So the correct order is data, information, knowledge, and decision. Yeah, now I will move to the slides back. Just a second. Yeah. So now I'll move to the next slide, changes of the current IT landscape. So here we're going to speak about some problems, situations, information needs, and supplies and demands. So you have imagined that each if I'm thinking about those basic figures, it's not a representation of the Squid Game. It's like a representation of different systems. So basically, we have different systems that are interconnected to each other, and there is a data between them. And the challenge is not how those systems are interconnected and how they are interacting with each other. The challenge is how to integrate those systems or data from those transactional systems like ERP, planning, CRM, and production, and so on and so forth, together in a system which you already give a name and as the BI, business intelligence solution. How could we integrate it in a way that it will support the decision maker? That is like more or less more refined goal, or refined or justified challenge of BI. How to integrate multiple systems into a single one, so there's a single system, and the single analytical system acts as a single source of truth. You have really a lot of problems in this constellation. For instance, I'll go through the list. The problem could sound obvious, but sometimes when you are in the concept, when you're building a concept of a particular system, you forget those problems or you just overlook them. It could be a problem that you have too much information, so you have way too much information. It could be challenging, so like the idea could be, yeah, okay, let's integrate everything and now we're happy. No, it's not a good way of doing it, because not only that you will load your system or overload your system, it's also could be that you have ambiguity in your integrated data later on, which is not good. Lack of correct information, so it means to some extent it means you need a particular data and particular information to get a particular knowledge for a particular decision, but it's simply missing or it's incorrect. Then lack of relevance and timelines of information, which means we spoke about the integration of those systems, transaction and analytical, and timeline means it could be that you integrate the data once a week. It means your decision makers will have chance to see the analysis once a week. It's a it's a valid step. It's completely okay, but you have to clarify it with stakeholders. So once a week they will see the updated report. If they're okay with that, then it's fine. But usually it's undesirable. Poor availability. So this is too generic, but the availability of the system, reports, data inside the system, everything. Confuse system links. So like maybe systems with the same name but delivering different results. Reports are rigid, hard-coded, and not flexible. This is more or less technical challenge. We'll see it later on. For instance, hard-coded names like language. So you used to work in Germany, your all reports are in Germany. Now you want to like go to the France and work there. I mean, not completely, but open the a branch of your company, and now maybe you want to also create a reports for them in French language. And if everything is hard coded in your reports, what you will need to do, you will need to deal with that. You will need to like do a lot of, you have to perform, you'll be forced to perform a lot of action to correct that. But if you select the right structure of your data, if you gather those information in different languages, for instance, then like switching the language of the report could be one click. I'll show you later on. Not during this lecture, but it will be a part of the exercise. Issue is documentation. People are coming and going. Some knowledge are in their heads, and not everything is documented. And after a couple of years, no one knows how the system works. This is the issue not only for BI system. This is the issue for all systems that I knew and faced, IT systems. So then what actually the real problem is data integration or poor data integration. So we saw the previous systems, there are many of them. You may have no or pure, like limited facility when it goes, when limited ability to integrate. So they're decoupled, they work somehow, but they are disconnected from each other, which is good for them, but which is bad for you as the one who tries to build a BI solution. Historical grown information systems, so especially house-made, I saw it as well. It could be challenging to integrate them. And sometimes it could be that you'll need to integrate up to, I have heard, up to 20 systems together. Sometimes it's also a challenging task to integrate 2 or 3 systems at once. But when you have 20 systems to integrate, you have to really think carefully about your data structures. Then we have something called isolated applications. It's when you have something like island solutions done by a single department. So it could be an Excel tool, it could be an MS Access solution written in Pascal, written with Pascal or whatever, or also sometimes Visual Basic applications or something similar, but still you need to integrate them into your BI solution. This is also a real example or real examples from the real industry. Imagine the situation when you have a production and you have 400 engineers out there and you have like 20 different teams, and each team will definitely develop their own tool for something, for time management, for report generation or whatever, because they simply can. I'm not speaking about software engineers. I'm speaking just about true engineers or the engineers that are like working for the production. This is also a real example from a couple of companies here. But this is like a situation that we have, and to introduce a BI solution, integrated BI solution, you have to take care of all those purely integrated software artifacts within the company. Why? Because otherwise you will have to change the processes, and people are always against changing status quo. If they create the process, it works. Why you should never change the running process or running system? What possible situations you may face? Let's go from the top to the bottom. I used to have a nice animation here, but as long as it's better for you to see the slides in PDF, so there's no animation for today. Important information is hidden in extensive reports. So it means island solutions reports generated somewhere, saved somewhere, some limited number of people have access to them, and it can lead to the problem that critical situations, critical KPIs could be ignored, overlooked, or like simply forgotten, which is not nice. Information is not up to date, or will be provided later. This is like for a moment could be not that crucial when you have no BI, but when you have all the API solution that runs, it means that you will lose some time for the action that you will perform. On that point, about this point we'll speak later, not today, but within a couple of weeks. Declaration ability is low, so basically no one understands what's going on there. So no one can interpret because there is no context. So you have some KPIs there, but how they calculated, what do they mean, what do they represent is not always clear. Information is inconsistent. This is also, I mentioned to you, it leads to ambiguity in decision making. This is your enemy, maybe enemy number one. So inconsistent information. There are different reasons for that. So ETL job just crashed. ETL job smashed the data. The source system changed the format. The source system used another, I don't know, location. For time format or whatever. So it could be really many reasons for that. Source system run in test mode. Available to company information is limited. Failures due to wrong opinions about actual situation. So it's basically when the system lies to you, or the BI system says, okay, everything is fine, but it's not the truth. It's not correct. This is the chart that I really like really a lot. Why? Because it conveys the idea that you not always have. It could be that you have no information. It could be that you may have information, and it could be that you will never ever have the right information you need. So just look at those. Let's look at those. You have a supply information, necessary information, and demand information. And then you have like intersections of those. So you have some level, but still some overload, like too much information, too many data to handle, and but you need only a subset. The trick here, or the point here, is you never know which part you may not need. Why? Because it's a view of stakeholder. And we'll also cover it later on, the granularity level of the events that you're gathering in your stat schema, for instance. It has to be as detailed as possible according to the process. Why? Because one stakeholder differs from another stakeholder. For manager, for the top manager, it could be interesting to have those to have revenues based on months. For the uh, manager of a particular branch, it could be interesting to know the revenue for each hour. And your system that you are going to create or that you are willing to create for them should address both goals. And then you have something necessary, demand, but not existing information. So this is, keep in mind, there is always an information that you will never get. So this is totally fine. You have to try as hard as possible, but it's always a case when you don't have the necessary information. It doesn't mean so. Okay, let us stop doing everything. No, it's not like this. It's like almost um, like let's assume that for predicting for predicting to predict something, you need another prediction. Yeah. So you need an estimation of the situation in future, and you don't have this estimation, or this is just an estimation. So there are workarounds, but it's like we have to deal with it. Do we have questions till now? So it could be really abstract, but I want you to keep in mind that challenges are real. They could be a bit abstract, but they stay in the domain almost forever because it's our nature. So it's due to how we think and how we are organized. But we're getting better. So if you don't have any questions, I will just continue. Now we're going to speak about the business intelligence. Finally, classical definitions. So I'll just go through. I have like a couple of slides on definitions. They're all listed there. They're also interesting to speak about, but maybe for you it could be too early to discuss them in details because they like open some philosophical questions about the domain. But still, what is business intelligence? Business intelligence describes the IT-based action, IT-based access to information, and IT-based analysis and processing of information with the objective of supporting operational decisions. We already spoke about the IT, we already spoke about decision, about the support. And now we have a new term, such as operational decisions. What does it mean, operational decisions? This is again the sort of old view from Gartner Group. Operational decisions means that you have an strategical, tactical, and operational levels, and this is operational level and the lowest possible level. And the topmost level is strategical decisions. So when you say, okay, we want to be an CO2 neutral in 10 years, so like strategical decision. In operational decision, we need to buy this and this and this within 2 days, and it have to be delivered in 2 weeks, and we have to, based on that material, produce something and sell it. But BI is at least tries to tackle problems on different levels, not only operational. BI is also closely associated with knowledge management. Knowledge management is really a broad definition. It's a broad term. It could be managed differently in different companies. For instance, the company could say, okay, we have something like SharePoint and we put everything there. And we manage the knowledge by asking our employees to put all the documents there. We have an access to it, blah, blah. Now we have also another solution. We can use Confluence. This is like tool-driven and process-driven. Then you can say, okay, we are managing knowledge differently. Let's use no system. We'll write everything down on paper and like distribute it among the employees. Yeah, it's a bit stupid example, but still, it could be like. I just want to make a point that knowledge management is not only a technical but also a management process. Any user can utilize the BI tool to drill down and slice and dice to gain better understanding of transaction and operational information. So now we have, for example, artifacts such as task schema, OLAP, and so on and so forth. Now you have here for the second time the term drill down and slice and dice. This is like some interesting aspects of BI. It's when you, as the one who deals with the BI, you got some data in some special format, like let's call it cube, and you just like rotating this cube in order to look at the particular side of this cube. And rotating this cube and looking into a particular side of this cube means the ability to have a different perspectives on the same data, but have the ability to have a perspective to look at the same data from different perspectives. Oh, this is like. So there are some definitions. I will just, you can read them later on. But basically, so they're speaking about the technologies, concepts, ideas, data integration, and so on and so forth. But to sum it up, we have a following one. I have a following one for you. Business intelligence means integration of strategies, processes, and technologies in order to deliver strategic knowledge about status, potentials, and perspectives from distributed and heterogeneous enterprise, market, and competitive data. Again, some definitions are a bit fancy and sounds a bit awkward, but the core aspects here, the integration of the strategies, means the ideas what we want to do with our business, processes, so like how we are doing it, in which making which steps and like making some actions, and technologies. So technologies, it's a cornerstone in this case for us at least, because this is the easiest from those three to simulate within this course. So we can simulate processes. I can force you to make a strategical decision. This is like a bit awkward. But the technologies, we can look at them and they are empowering those processes and like they helping the strategies to happen. Now we are at the stage when we spoke during the trends about the integration of KI, augmented analytics into BI solutions. Now we're like really quite advanced, but we started somewhere. So we started with back then with some systems, and let's go back a bit and see what we used to have. We used to have management information systems, which is MIS. Then we have decision support systems that are DSS. Then we have executive information systems. Then we have a data warehouse, PI, and the question what we'll have in the future. And for sure, they all brought their own um, innovation. For instance, when we speak about the um, decision support systems, by the way, you can still find the term used in the BI. Why? Because it's what it is. It's system that supports decisions. Exactly. Uh, yeah. Then it brought. So let's look from the on the left side and think about what we had. We firstly wanted to have an isolated applications. So not a single application that runs and interacts with other. Then there used to be an integration of database management systems. Then information as a resource. So it's again an ephemeral understanding how you should treat the information systems. Then linking information into knowledge, and then what's now? So maybe like using the previous experience to learn in automated way to find the hidden patterns and put them into the action. So it's like a redefinition of artificial intelligence and to some extent data mining for you. Uh, the historical evolvement does not mean that one thing get abandoned and the next thing get adapted. It's not like this. It works as follows, that you need maybe firstly the data warehouse before you will start with the BI. You will maybe first in a company would like to build a BI solution. I mean, um, speaking about running company before you will adopt artificial intelligence. So I will move to the next slide. So I mentioned to you the historical evolvement of the BI and where this in which direction it goes. But it means also that BI, in this sense, has a lot of meanings. What do I mean under have a lot of meanings? If you look at this chart on the x-axis, you have a degree of intelligence, and on the epsilon axis, you have a degree that sum up a competitive advantage. The idea of this visualization is that more intelligent you get in your analytics, more competitive advantage you have against your competitors. So if you look, you can roughly split it into two huge blocks. It's access and reporting, and then analytics. Why it's separated like this? First of all, the idea to create a report, you may you need to do a data integration in any way. You need to do any data integration. And when you are done with the data integration, or when you are in the process of data integration, the first step you would like to have or would like to create is reporting or standard reports. So basically, to answer the question, what happened? Uh, it's sort of a natural thing and a nature thing to be done after you integrated the data. That's why it makes no sense to integrate the data and then move directly to the advanced analytics. First of all, it's easy to do the standard reports. Second, it's easier to convince or to use them to embed them into existing business processes. Why? Because I think it's a bit easier to understand the reports rather than understanding the complicated artificial intelligence outputs of a, I don't know, of a system. Then what you do usually after you have a standard reports in a company, you would like to have something like ad hoc reports. So basically, it's more flexible reports. So it's basically standard reports means you have a job, cron job, scheduled job that generates reports once a day and sends them as a PDF to all the employees or the special employees. Ad hoc reports means you have some interface where employee can select a date, run a report, and get the results. So it's a bit more advanced. Then you have an query based or drill down, so it's a bit more sophisticated analysis. So it's you give a bit more power, a bit more tools to your stakeholders. Then you have like alerts. So it's basically something that helps you to like to monitor what's going on and to send those notifications alerts to your end user. And analytics, you have a different one: statistical analysis, forecasting, predictive modeling, and optimization. It's, if you will let me sum it up, those analytics depends really on the use case. It's not growing from the statistical analysis to the optimization, because speaking about the forecasts and predictive modeling and optimization, everything here is optimization. So technically speaking, but it's like making a statistical analysis and basic forecasting, like a trend analysis, could be much easier than deploying or using predictive modeling. So, and for sure, there are some questions on the right that one would ask while doing that. But I think you got the idea on the slide. Let me check what we have next. I think we have not that much time left. I will just there are a number of important slides left. I will start next week from this slide. I will sum it up what we spoke about till now, and I will start with the slide. Why? Because we have quite important topics or quite important ideas of the BI that I don't want to skip, and I still want to speak about them with you. Do you have questions? Of course, you don't have questions. Okay, then I have a question for you. So for instance, can you follow with what I'm speaking about, or should I change it a bit? Speak faster, slower? Could you follow up, at least with the ideas of what we are speaking about? I can't see you. That's why I can't really estimate the feedback. That's why I have to ask you. Can you still hear me? Perfect. Yes. Nice. So you don't complain, it means you are satisfied. Perfect. So information for this week. We don't have an exercise. We'll start with the exercise next week. Okay, for you to know. So this week on Friday, 8, we have no exercise. No. I'll remind you next week again about the upcoming week. So what else? Yeah, I hope you learned something today. I hope you enjoyed the lecture and the questionnaire, and we'll continue next week. If you have questions, just drop me or Andreas an email, and think about the time that you have for the finals. Then, so which week? The first week or the second week after the semester ends? I think it's the second or the third week of the February. If you don't have questions, then have a nice day and hear you next week.